Hello everyone! So consider this an epilogue to the video I made earlier this week all about Concord and my impressions of its beta. So, wow. I usually hate the dead game insult because I think people are too quick to use it without really thinking. I mean, people have told me with a straight face that games like GTA Online or Overwatch 2 are dead games. As examples, yeah, GTA Online, that dead game. Right. Let's be real here. Concord is on track to be dead on arrival. This is a soon-to-be dead game. Probably within 2 to 3 months after its release, if these beta numbers are anything to go by. Over this last weekend, Concord in its open beta status reached a peak of a paltry 2,388 concurrent players on Steam. Now, I will grant you, Steam is just one piece of the pie. That doesn't include Epic, which I think this game is on Epic, and it doesn't include PlayStation's numbers because PlayStation doesn't disclose their numbers for things like betas or it's not publicly available, unlike something like Steam. But these are catastrophic numbers. Holy shit. The fact that it didn't even reach 2,500 concurrent players over this weekend for a free open beta for a hero shooter from one of the biggest publishers and one of the big 3 console manufacturers. Oh my god, there must be some alarm bells going off at Firewalk and Sony right now. I mean, just to put into context how bad this is, Valve's unannounced hero shooter, Deadlock, that's in closed testing right now, closed testing, had more concurrent players this weekend than Concord. And I highly doubt the player numbers on PlayStation were much better. I mean, shit, even if they got 5 to 10 times the amount of players that they got on Steam, that still would not be great. I mean, 10,000 to 20,000 concurrent players for an open beta on PS5, that's pretty low considering the install base for that thing. What I mainly want to talk about with this video is how did this happen and what happens next with Concord? Because Sony and Firewalk have a big problem on their hands with this game. And I think the #1 killer for Concord is pure, unadulterated apathy. Because despite what a lot of people, the very loud vocal minority on Twitter and YouTube that are making the outrage bait videos with the thumbnails of the PlayStation symbol on fire and the Steam beta chart with going down with the characters with the crying face, you know the thumbnails that I'm talking about. That is a vocal minority. But what I think is really going to kill Concord is apathy. Because I don't think saying people hate Concord is the correct read on this. But saying that most people are apathetic about Concord, that hits the nail on the head. And that's an almost worse situation in my opinion, because apathy means they're not getting any attention. Negative attention is still attention. But apathy, when you just don't care and you don't want to give it the time of day, that's worse, because that's like it doesn't even exist. And I think a couple other things was just bad timing with this beta, because this open beta coincided with EVO this weekend. It also had really bad timing with Overwatch 2, because they allowed people to try out next season's new hero this last weekend. And another big problem with Concord is the marketing, which I think this game has been just dreadful when it comes to marketing. Ever since this was announced last year with that stupid CG trailer that told us nothing about the game, not even the genre, not a microsecond of gameplay. Nothing. And I want to present a hypothetical scenario for when this game comes out next month, because I know some of Concord's defenders are saying things like, oh, it's the beta numbers are not an indication, it's just a beta, or it'll sell much better on PS5. This is a mainly console game after all. So let's put that to the test. Let's say that every person who follows this game on Twitter, Twitch, and the Concord subreddit buys a copy of this game. And I'm going to add another, like, 1 to 2,000 in there, just to buff it up the numbers. So that's approximately 15,000 copies sold at launch across the board, from PS5, PC, both on Steam and Epic. That is terrible for a game that Sony has probably sunk at least $75 to $100 million on. That is so bad. When you account for everything from acquiring the studio, to initial investment, to marketing, to making these dumb, useless CGI trailers, to the useless cutscenes, terrible. And how many of those 15,000 hypothetical copies are going to stick around for the long term and not bounce? Because this is the issue with live services, is that you can have a strong start, but they need to retain people. So how many of these hypothetical 15,000 people are going to do things like buy the battle pass for this game, or buy skins, or gift the game to their friends on Steam if they like it, or anything like that? I really doubt that number is going to be even half of that. So you're looking at less than 7,500 people that are going to be doing this. And again, this is all just a hypothetical scenario, but I just don't see it, guys. And I know there are people out there that are upset that people are so negative about this, and that they feel like that we're doom posting. I am not doom posting here. I am using my eyes and my brain to look at the evidence presented to me to make a logical conclusion. And the logical conclusion in Concord's case is that this game is going to be DOA. And that leads nicely into the last section of this video, which is what happens next? What can Sony do? The one thing they could do is delay this game and add new content, including a PvE mode, which is something that a lot of people have said, that they need to delay this, that they need to come back within a year and just have a more compelling package, like a PvE mode, or more modes, or better characters, or something. But I don't think that's going to work, because I don't think delaying the full release and adding a PvE mode is the solution, because the writing and character designs are so vanilla. And do you guys, honestly, seriously, do you guys really want a campaign mode with these characters constantly spewing quips and exposition? I certainly don't. That sounds like a terrible PvE mode, especially with the writing on display and these cutscenes that they've already released. Another avenue Sony could go down is making the game free to play, but that comes with its own set of risks, like pissing off the people who pre-ordered it, because that's, unless you want to turn around and make them ambassadors or something like that for Concord, I think that's going to rub people the wrong way. And they already rubbed some people the wrong way, because there were people that pre-ordered the game on PS5 to get specifically into that closed beta for the first weekend, and to get those beta codes for their friends. So they just wasted $40 to just have the game's beta be free, open to anyone who has a PS Plus account anyway, which is something you need to play the beta anyway. But the thing that, this is my advice. This is what I think Sony and Firewalk should do. Sony in particular. Just bite the bullet. Bite the bullet, stay on course when this drops in August, and then just forget it exists by the time Astrobot rolls around a few weeks after that. Don't even try to salvage this one. I just think Concord is already a lost cause. Just take the L and move on. Because Sony has already wasted enough money on this. Why are they going to sink even more money into writing a ship that is probably always going to be destined to hit an iceberg? It doesn't make much sense to me. Beyond the couple seasons that this game will probably last after its release, I mean, they probably have already allocated resources for that, so that's irreversible. But don't delay this fucking thing. Don't make it free to play. Don't just bite the bullet. Just accept that you made a terrible mistake with this game and just move on. Because I guarantee you the PlayStation Hardcore are not going to give a fuck about Concord and all its negative PR by the time Astrobot rolls around. If it's the big win that I think it's going to be for PlayStation, no one's going to care. What sucks too is that this situation is much worse because Sony bought Firewalk. If they hadn't brought them in-house and branded them as a PlayStation studio, this would have been less bad. It would have been bad enough, granted, to have this yet be another second-party live service blemish this generation, like Destruction All-Stars. But it's even worse because this is on track to be the biggest first-party failure for PlayStation in a very long time. Yeah, I just... it's screwed. Like, Concord is screwed. I really do think there is no righting this ship at this point. All they can really do is just, the saying is just, when the lights are up and the curtain's up, even if people are booing you, just stay on that stage and keep dancing until it's time to go. That's just what I think Concord should do at this point. Just release the shit you already have in the back end for the seasons that it will be around, and then just leave the servers on for the people who care, and just move on.